To next gen or not to next gen? That is the question. So, as you know, for months and months, I talked about how I'm not going next gen. I don't need to. I got the most beastliest PC in the world, all that stuff. But I still love the fanfare of new consoles being dropped and all this stuff. I love all the flim flam and hype surrounding a new console release. I love looking at the hardware, finding out about the technology. But I want to hold on to that shit now. I want to touch it. I want to smell it. I want to sniff it. So I'm like, man, it sure would be cool to have that stuff. And not even really to play the next gen games. Like, everybody knows I got a huge backlog on PC. I got a huge backlog on Xbox. And of course, I got a huge backlog on PS4. So what if I could finish that backlog on the new systems? I don't really need the money. I was buying the systems to sell and make some extra cash on eBay, but I don't really need to do that. Oh, God, you guys suck. You suck. I really thought I could just fuck all that shit. I don't need consoles anymore and keep it going and stick with my old systems. I was actually thinking about getting an Xbox One X to finish playing my Xbox games and play my backwards compatible stuff. But, you know, Xbox One X is $400 something, $500 something. I'm like, why would I pay that much money for an older system when I could just get the new shit? And then I have both the new shits, but I got some work to do. I said, you know what? I know what I can do, and it'll help me justify this. You know how they have like the things where you can give someone in need a game console and some games. I got a ton of games, and I can give somebody like a whole hookup, a whole system filled with games this Christmas, so they'll have their own video game system. You know, somebody who couldn't afford it or whatever, some kid, or maybe I'll donate it to Children's Hospital or something like that, and then I'll do some good with it. And if I get rid of my PS4 or my Xbox, then I'm going to have to replace it so I could have something to play all those games that I haven't finished yet. So that's the question. Among other things, the new shit that's going around on the internet is that the Xbox Series X is hot. Well, I mean, the press has the units and they're playing with them. There's not much they can say, but they're talking about all the heat that comes out of the top. It is a vapor-cooled system, so it's a big vapor chamber, and it pushes the hot air out of the top of the Xbox. Computers, CPUs, they run hot. That's why we spend so much money on cooling. My system has liquid cooling. It's the coolest system I've ever owned. PS5 now has liquid metal to cool its system, and it has a huge heatsink. Don't you dimwits out there know that when you have a console or a computer that the heat has to go somewhere? It doesn't just sit inside the system and take up residency. You have to take that heat and move it out of the system so all the parts can keep running. So that's why the Xbox Series X has, vapor cooling, and the PS5 has liquid metal to cool the systems. But that heat has to go somewhere. That is why they have large fans. Heat dissipation. So I don't understand what the deal is about the Xbox Series X being hot. It's supposed to be hot. It's a fucking GPU, CPU. It's a fucking computer. Computers get hot. Open up your computer and put your finger on your CPU. And after you get back from the hospital, come to me and tell me, was it hot? Of course. We've had all these things that we've had. Heat sinks, fans, we've had Arctic Silver 5, thermal paste, all kinds of things to better our heat dissipation in computers. And now a lot of that stuff is being passed on to video game consoles because they are essentially PCs. They're x86 PCs. That's what the PS5 and the Xbox Series X essentially are. They're PCs for everybody. Gaming PCs for everybody. So yeah, you got to have heat dissipation, and that's what the ventilation system is on the Series X is vapor cooled, and that whole top half is for heat dissipation. You look at any PC, on the back of the PC where the power supply is, you'll see a fan. It blows out hot air. The fans on the CPU, the way you set up your computer, you set up your computer so that the front of the computer takes air in. The CPU fan blows air off the CPU. The air takes it in, past the CPU, and then the fans in the back blow it out of the system. So you create vents to move that hot air out of your system. That's why you got to put your fans in correctly and make sure it's drawing in from the front and pushing out from the back. And then you keep your system cool. And this is kind of what Microsoft and kind of what PlayStation's doing. PlayStation is using the liquid metal in a huge heatsink. A huge heatsink. It takes up like a third of the size of the system. And what those metal heat sinks, if you don't know, metal conducts heat really well. If you have a metal cup and you pour a cup of coffee in it, it's going to burn your hand. And if you pour the coffee out of the metal cup, it'll stay hot. That's why most thermoses, most coffee thermoses, they're made out of metal because they store heat longer. The metal helps to store that heat because it conducts the heat. So those heat sinks take the heat off the CPU, and it goes all throughout those heat sinks, and then the air between the heat sinks, the air goes through it and pushes that heat off the heat sinks, and then the fan pushes it out of the system through the vents. That is how you cool a system. So all this talk about how the Xbox Series X is hot, it should be fucking hot. It's a next-gen system. You know, in a closed box with very powerful components. Same with the PS5. They're hot, quiet running systems. But the good thing is that heat doesn't stay inside. If the heat stayed inside, then you'd have another Xbox 360. You know, the heat gets out of the system where it's supposed to be. So I don't even understand why that's a big deal. It's really strange. Sony did the PlayStation 5 breakdown. So they took the system apart and they showed all the parts. That's why I'm talking about it right now. It's a pretty cool system. I don't know how Sony does it. They do some pretty ingenious work with their engineering. I think that the system looks cool, but it just doesn't seem very practical to me, whereas the Xbox Series X seems more practical because it looks just like a desktop PC, and it just sits there, you know? The PlayStation 5 is really something from outer space or the future or something like that. It's just, I've never seen anything like it before. I've never seen anything like it. It is literally something from the future or a spacecraft. It's just, I don't know how they come up with that shit. The PS5 is a gaming system. It doesn't even look like a gaming system. But it's an amazing feat of engineering. I just don't think it's as practical as the Series X in terms of being a gaming console. You know, I like the fact that you can take the plastic off, and you could probably replace those or get them painted. So that's pretty cool. But I need to see more. You know, I want to see these systems boot up and play games, and I want to see the UIs and stuff like that. We're less than a month away at this point. Oh, no, still a couple more days. So just about a month away from the launch of the new consoles. I'm still not decided yet. I know for an entire year I said I wasn't going next gen. But, you know, I'm a gamer at heart, and the hype is starting to get to me. And it would be cool to have some new shit. Even though I wouldn't play it that much. But it would be cool to replace my PS4 and my OG Xbox. I have an OG PS4 and an OG Xbox One. To replace those with the next-gen systems. It would be kind of cool to play around with them and check out some of the new features and play all my backwards compatible stuff on them from PS4 and Xbox One. So I'm still thinking about it. Haven't quite decided yet. But leave a comment in the comment section what you think about me getting the next-gen systems. I mean, I would report on them. I do unboxings and cool things like that, but I don't know. I love tech. I can't deny it. I really love tech. But the problem here is, look at all that shit. Can you see it? Those shelves are filled with consoles. I know you can't. Let me get my flashlight here so you can see it. There we go. Alright, So you should be able to see it now. So, you know, at the top, got the Dreamcast, there's a Wii U up there, Sega Saturn, Xbox 360, there's the Wii U console, PS3, PS4, and Xbox One. There's literally no more room to put any more consoles. But if I remove the PS4, move the PS3 to the bottom, and remove the Xbox OG, I could use that first shelf for the PS4 and then figure out what to do with the new Xbox. And then I wouldn't have a space issue. So that's what I'm wondering about what I should do. And I haven't decided yet, but maybe you guys can help me. I don't know. I need help. Anyway, love you guys. Quick morning gamer. I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.